Welcome to the Curious Conversations Collaborative with your hosts Karen Revell and Tessa and Karen. We hope by listening to these conversations you will gain insight, awareness, perspective, inspiration and motivation to create a career or business and life that lights you up and brings you happiness and joy.
Hi,
Hi Tessa, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Been a bit busy with our new kitchen going in, so
Oh,
it's all coming
cool.
together. So
How's the weather there?
oh, it's beautiful. You probably don't want to hear. It's it's lovely. Still a bit hot at night, so not sleeping as well as I'd like. And not actually been out in the sun as much as I'd like because we've obviously been indoors a lot with workmen round and things like that. But yeah, hopefully today it should be finishing off, and then we've still got a couple of weeks that we can enjoy, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I must say, like the last 2 days here, like at least it's been dry and a bit sunny. But yeah, I mean,
Okay.
big jumpers though. Like it's not nice
Yeah.
and warm though, so a bit jealous.
No, I know back in the UK, it looks like it's. I think we come away at just the right time. Autumn's definitely well and truly in, so lots of rain there. So
Yeah,
keeps
yeah,
everything green though.
that's true. That's true. Actually, I think this is straight away kind of nice intro to our topic from today, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be.
Comparing the climates.
Yeah, but yes. So today we said we'd talk about comparisonitis, which isn't a real word, but it's become quite a common word, especially in the entrepreneurial world, because I think so many people, when they're starting out in business, especially, are always comparing themselves to others that they see out there who are already successful.
Yeah.
And I think, there's a lot of things that come up about this that we wanted to discuss today. So, my take on comparisonitis is that we are, as I said, we're always comparing ourselves to someone who's further ahead than us.
Yeah.
And then we look at ourselves and say, oh, I must be doing something wrong, or I'm not up to their standard, or I'm not as good as they are. So
Yeah.
it's not wrong to be comparing yourself to someone or looking out at what others are doing, but it's when you compare yourself and then judge yourself as being in a state of lack or
Yeah.
something like that that you come off, you judge yourself in a way that you come off worse off. And I think that can ultimately lead to lots of feeling of lack of self-worth and putting yourself down, excuse me, and then even giving up on your dreams because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also, like, I mean, we already talked about that a little bit, of course. I think for me, it's very much like, and you're right. I think definitely as entrepreneurs, it comes up even more so, I think, but I think we do this then after that, you start seeing how you do this in a lot of areas of life and how very often it causes a lot of problems. Because actually, when I started noticing doing this as an entrepreneur, I realized how much this is one of the things that's coming up a lot for clients. Actually, I'll put in earphones because I think those planes are coming to start flying over here and might be a bit noisy. But yeah, so I thought, like, I noticed when I started doing my business, like, when I was practicing for me, my meditation, my Reiki, the way I work with people, it very much came from the inside. But then as soon as I had to start looking at like, okay, there is an element of marketing and I need to, how do I bring my message out? Then I started to fall in that trap of
what you said, like first looking at others, which is a good thing to kind of say, okay, what's out there? What do I like? What can I learn from how other people are doing it? But then started to go into like, oh, but maybe I should do it this way they are doing, or why are they getting clients and I'm not, or maybe I'm doing it wrong. And then either starting to doubt more about my way of doing things and thinking more of like, oh, maybe I do it wrong, or things like that, or trying to do it in a way that's not really me, which actually then I lost my voice again. So I think there's all these elements.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I feel really strongly about, actually. It's that we don't see our own strengths.
Yeah.
I always say it's like our strengths are on the end of our nose. We can't see them, but other people can see them. And the thing is, like, you can't do business somebody else's way. I get really fed up with all these 7-step blueprints you see out there of like, this is how you do it in your business or whatever, or in your life or whatever. But the problem with that is it worked for that person, and it may work for a group of people, but it's not necessarily going to be the right way for you, because that's not your natural talents and your natural strengths. And I think it's really important that we have to recognize our own strengths and gifts first. And then you can start doing things your way, because when you compare yourself to someone else, like I say, you always look at what their strengths are, what they're really good at. And if that's not your zone of genius, then you will always come off worse off. And that's when you're starting to judge yourself negatively.
Exactly.
Whereas that person over there could be looking at you in exactly the same way and saying, oh, well, they're great at this, and I'm not as good as that. I wish I could be like that.
And I think that's that difference what you were saying around like that it's totally fine to look at things and learn things from it, because by comparing or looking at others anyway, but not in a way of like making it as in either a confirmation of your weaknesses or their strength, but more as a we can always improve and learn, and sometimes there's something that you're doing it your way but you haven't thought of anything else. So sometimes you see things and you think, oh, that's actually very handy and I would love to do that. And that's a very different way again, isn't it? Then it becomes learning, because we always, there's always room for growth. But I think, as you said, the difference with comparisonitis is really where you're doing it more as a looking at like, how am I doing it wrong and how are they doing it better? And I think for me, when I work with clients, where I notice it a lot coming up is like, for instance, I had one client who actually nearly got depressed. Like, I mean, I know, like, not in a necessarily clinical diagnosis, but really got really down on himself, because he said, well, look, my life is such a mess, and my dating isn't working, and this is not working. And then I look on Facebook and all these people, they have perfect relationships. And for me, it was, and we know this, we know, like, I mean, and I said to him, I said, look, no one is putting up their pictures of when they're having a fight, but nearly everyone now and again has, like in most relationships anyway. Or, so I said, like, and again, this showed to me how dangerous the comparisonitis can be, where people look at others and see a certain image and see, as you said, the good things, their strengths, and then look at them where they are going wrong and only see their own weaknesses. So, and then it actually can make you really hard on yourself and get you really down.
And I think social media, the media at large, actually, and the messaging that we get every day, and in this world that we live in today, we are being bombarded with messages, 24/7, and a lot of people out there do just show their best side, their perfect side, what they like, what they like to be. And I think if you think about the actual sort of showbiz world and the world of stars and celebrities, it's all very gloss. There's the gloss on the outside, and and we're comparing ourselves against them.
Yeah.
There's a great description. You may have heard of this, Tessa. I've heard it from a couple of coaches before, and it describes the whole coaching process in a way, but it's how we are as people. And it's like when we're born, you know, that little baby, is we are a diamond, and every diamond is completely unique. But as we go through life, we start getting the shit, excuse me, they're thrown at us like the horse manure, and it all sticks, you know. And then because, and this is all our, you know, our beliefs about ourselves and the world and whatever, but it's all the stuff that we take on as like the negative beliefs about ourselves and how good we are. But of course, we don't want to go out into the world like this. So what we do is we put on a veneer, like a nail varnish sort of thing. It's like a polish out to the outside world. And obviously coaching is like cracking into that and wading around in all of that muck and letting the diamond shine out again. But I think what I like about that analogy is it does describe all of us as human beings. It's like we are unique, we are beautiful, we are wonderful in all our brilliance, if we allow that to shine.
Yes.
But we're so covered in all this muck that we've gathered over the years, but we don't want the world to see that, so we put on this gloss. And I think that's what we're looking at. We're there's very few people that we're looking at and seeing the real diamond. You know, or the ones that we do are the legends that we really, you know, we revere, but not in a way that we look up to their lifestyle or whatever. It's more like a heart-to-heart connection that, you know, so someone like Gandhi or Martin Luther King,
Dalai Lama, that kind of stuff.
all of those, you know, you're not looking at them and going, oh wow, what a life they've got. You're looking at them and saying, like, I have a deep connection with what they're
what a great presence they have. How can they be so serene, like, because they still have, I mean, you know, of course, like particularly like, you know, some people have maybe, but they still have struggles. And I think your analogy, like, I absolutely love it. And I have to tell you something, like, because with the meditation and Reiki healing I do in Buddhism, and in particularly also in Japan, they actually have this tradition, and they call it polishing the diamonds. Like, and they have this, like, you know, it's actually, so I think even this with coaches, like, it probably came originally or traditionally from there, because what they talk about is this, again, as you said, like, you know, we have this diamond, and also why they use a diamond is because a diamond is really, really strong, isn't it? Like, it's in a way really unbreakable. Like, of course you can cut it and stuff, but but that and again, it's completely clear from itself, but the muck, as you said, comes from the outside. And what we do is, as you said, we put an outer veneer around it so it looks nice. But that all these traditional meditation and healing practices are all about, they see the layers, like the muck, also as your anger, your worries, your fears that get stuck on it. And that by your practice of being more present, practicing mindfulness, being more grounded, that is, in a way, if you like, polishing it from the outside. So that is kind of, as you said, with a coach, like, also cutting through the layers. And when that all goes, that then the diamond can shine from the inside again, and it's fully clear again. So I really like that. I had to say, like, I was like, because this is something I don't necessarily talk with my clients about this all the time, because, you know, again, it's for people who are more into the more spiritual meditation side, this analogy, but it is basically the same thing. It's always about this practicing from the inside out, that in the end the answer never can be found outside. So I think if we look at comparisonitis, like we already said, right? I mean, it's really around, what we start doing is that there is some feel of not being good enough, or lack of self-worth or confidence, and that we start looking outside for the answer, right? We're starting comparing to other people.
We're looking at the other people's polish.
So
and then comparing it to all our muck.
Exactly. And forgetting, as you said, to see your own real strengths and gifts. So from talking together, I already think like, really, are we not saying that really the solution, if you like, to the antidote to comparison is not so much to tell people stop comparing, because that's very hard. So it's not stop looking at other people, but more to look in a different way, to really kind of go, instead of going outwards and look everywhere outside, to also really start looking inwards and actually start to search for your own inner strengths.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, and this is where techniques like you use with the mindfulness and the meditation and sort of processes like I use to help people get really clear about their gifts and their strengths. All of this, whether it's more awareness or whether it's a way of tuning in to your inner knowing, they're all ways that people can start to understand themselves better, and therefore, like you say, take a different view when they're looking outwards. It's kind of like you're wiping away some of that muck from your glasses or whatever. You're looking out at the world in a different light. And so I think the more that people can practice these things or become more aware of their own gifts, then the comparisonitis just starts to shrink away, because you can see the beauty and the gifts in someone else.
Yes.
But you recognize that they're different to you. So,
and I think that what you said there is so important, because sometimes what happens is to see the beauty and gifts in others, so that you can see them in yourself and the others. Because I think what sometimes, and again, I way back, this would have happened to me too, that when you start to stop comparing yourself negatively with others, that there can be sometimes a danger of going the other way and then trying to see yourself better, but because you still don't have found your inner gifts, or you still haven't really that inner confidence, what you start doing is to, instead of putting yourself down compared to others, you start putting yourself up compared to others. So in a way, because you think, I need to see myself as good, so actually compared to them I'm not so bad, I'm doing this way better than they are, so you still do the comparison, but in the other way, and in a way that's just the other side of, you're still not really having that inner confidence then, because you still need that putting it up or down compared to someone else.
It's like your ego's taking over rather than I think when you're tuning in to your true wisdom, then there's no comparison. And again, when we go back to people like Mother Teresa or Dalai Lama, and that, it's like you don't see any of that, because they're so comfortable with themselves. That they're neither above or below anyone else. They're just very grounded and centered in themselves, and then they can respect and love everyone else out there.
And I love that, because I think, and again, then it becomes also that the fact that one person might be better in one thing than the other, it doesn't become in this comparison way. It's like, I'm better at this, or you're better at that, but it comes more as in, as you said, you can see each other's strengths and gift, and then together you can both benefit from that. So it's not anymore in a comparison way, but in a recognizing that strength or in the other. So again, it's not to be also about we're all equal and we're all good. No, I mean, some people are better at certain things than others, but you then see that as a strength rather as a comparison.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of circles back to what we was talking about last time about competition and collaboration in a way. It's like, instead of competing against people, trying to be better or feel your worth, it's just that accepting that we've all got our own gifts and talents, and accepting of each other. So
so it's letting go again, as you said. It's like seeing those gifts in each other, it's letting go of the elbow work of then I need to be this or I need to be better, and to be together. Again, this is also why I think even this conversation, if either of us had done a talk on comparison on our own, it would have been way less than, or not less, but you know what I mean? Like it would have been different.
Yeah.
It would have been, it's more dimensional now. It's a deeper conversation because we do it together, and you kind of can see different point of views. So I love that.
Mm.
And I think it brings up so many other things, right? We already talked about it being really authentic and being confident and really that self-worth. So I think there's lots of things here that would be great to talk about another time, to go a bit deeper into, because I think a lot of people might listen to this and think, yeah, that's all great, but how do I really do that? You guys are talking
Well,
about
actually, that's
being
what I
more
was just
aware
about to
yeah.
say. You know, would it be beneficial just to mention some of the ways that you know, if a client came to you and this was part of, you know, some of the challenges they were having, how would you know, what are some of the techniques and that you would use?
Yeah, so I think, you know, it does start with that bit of like, you know, as you said, for me, it always starts with these awareness and acceptance. Like, so awareness to me is really about being more here in the presence, right? Because I think all comparisonitis is nearly always used to either past or future, right? It's like, it's rather than being here where things are right now. And then there's this acceptance, like, can you actually right now accept where things are at, where you are right now? Yeah, it's not about, again, we talked about this before, you don't have to think like there's nothing to learn. You don't have to think like, yes, certain things I would like them to be different. That's all fine, that's good, but right now, can you be okay with how things are? Because if you're here now and you can accept yourself where you are at now, then you can look in a very different way, and then your actions can come from a space of growth rather than of a space, oh, things should not be this way. Does that make sense? And of course, it takes a lot of practice, and it's not like that you can just tell someone like, do this. So for some people that might go through meditation, other people it might go through different ways. And of course, that is something like, you know, mostly when I work with people, you work like a few months together. So it's not like that you just do this just like this. It's a practice. But again, people can practice this really at home, even with like when they're all over the place and comparing. Just stop everything, to just really breathe in, preferably deep in the belly, and to just for a moment let the mind really flow with that and just be here and say that right now it's okay, and what steps can I take for me to actually, as you said, to find but also to express my gifts.
Oh, that's great. So so I think there are some ways that people can deal with comparisonitis, but I think what we're both saying is that we're coming from that same angle, is that people have to go within and recognize their own gifts and their own strengths, and then they can look out into the world through a different lens and see the gifts and strengths of others, but not in a detrimental way to themselves and not in a judging way.
Yeah, that's why also, like, again, we spoke also specifically about entrepreneurs, who are often the ones that start, like, you know, where people really start seeing this coming up for them, although it happens in our private lives as well. And I think that's, like, you know, where your programs are so amazing with this, like, you know, you're helping people to find their gifts. So I think that's linked to that very much as well. And maybe we can talk in one of the talks next time about this, really this finding your inner strengths and gifts specifically. I don't know if that's something you think might be a good idea.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people, like I say, we all walk around with it on the end of our nose and we can't see it. So it's the hardest thing to find for ourselves. So yeah, let's have a conversation around that as well.
Yeah, and I think also because we're talking about this, but I think, you know, and sometimes we're even taught this way, you know, we're not really taught to be really proud of what we do in a way, you know, unless, like we talked about competition and stuff like that, unless we compete and we win. But to actually be proud of just our own inner gifts is, you know, is not something most people are very comfortable with. So I think it's also nearly like the comfort zone nearly to compare yourself, like to kind of go, I'm not so good at this, or other people are, because, you know, it feels, people might feel nearly arrogant if they're saying, I'm fantastic at.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a really nice one to talk about.
Yeah.
To actually, you know, to go into that space of where you can actually, again, letting go of the comparison, but really see your own inner gifts and the ones of others.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there anything else you think we really should share about this now, or want to share about this now, or shall we just leave these for future conversations?
I think this is it for now, and we'll dive into the topic or the other topics in another session.
Great. Right. Great to talk to you as usual. And I look forward to our next conversation. And as usual, if anyone watching this now or later has any suggestions, comments, questions, pop them in the comments, or you can contact us directly. And if you have any requests for topics that you would like us to talk about, please do let us know. And we look forward to talk next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.